Folks, I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now because what I'm about to show you about this week's weather is something I haven't seen come together like this in a long, long time. 5 days in a row of severe weather, 100 million Americans in the impact zone, and a level 3 enhanced risk already locked in for Friday, and that's just what we know right now. But here's the thing that's been keeping me up. The number the Storm Prediction Center isn't talking loudly enough about yet is what's sitting on the other side of Friday. And we'll get there. Before we dive in, go ahead and drop your city in the comments right now. Because I'm personally going through locations today and I want to make sure your area gets covered. So, here's what's going on at the big picture level. The jet stream has basically gone rogue on us, throwing itself into a deep roller coaster dip that it just refuses to pull out of. Every time it dips that hard over the Rockies, it acts like a slingshot. It flings storm systems eastward one after another, each one stronger than the last, like it's got something to prove. At the same time, warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico is surging north like it owns the place, and when that warmth crashes headfirst into the cold air still locked in from the north, all heck breaks loose. That collision zone, that invisible battle line stretching from Texas up through Missouri, that's your ground zero for the next 5 days of severe weather. And it's not moving anytime soon. What makes this setup unusual isn't just the storms themselves, it's the fact that the atmosphere is reloading after every single round. Like it's got an unlimited supply of ammunition this week. Right now, as we speak, a winter weather system is finishing up its move through the northeast, bringing some light snow to interior New England, the Catskills, the Poconos, and brushing New Jersey. There's also a brief window of freezing rain possible this afternoon. Across parts of the mid-Atlantic, we could see up to 1/10 of an inch of ice glazing before warm air sweeps it all out tonight. Boston, you're wrapping up with maybe a coating to 3 inches in the interior, 45 degrees today. And by tomorrow, that system is gone and the warm air takes over hard. Meanwhile, down south, here's the contrast that's just wild to look at. Nashville is already sitting at 70 degrees today. Atlanta at 68, Charlotte at 65. That is legitimately spring weather in the first week of March. That 30-plus degree temperature difference between Minnesota and Tennessee right now, that's not just a weather stat. That's the energy source that's about to power everything we'll see this week. And here's what I want you to hang on to tonight. The very first isolated thunderstorms are already firing across Kansas and Oklahoma. And we could see some large hail develop as early as this evening. That's just the atmosphere clearing its throat. Y'all, because what comes Wednesday afternoon is where this whole thing starts to get genuinely serious. And I've got the SPC numbers to back that up. But before we get into Wednesday, I want you to think about where you live for a second. Because there's a specific piece of Thursday's forecast that veteran meteorologists are already calling concerning. And most people haven't heard about it yet. We'll get there, but first, let's walk through Wednesday so you know exactly what's coming to your doorstep in the next 24 hours. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight risk that's a level 2 out of 5 for a corridor running from the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex straight up through Fort Smith, Arkansas into southwestern Missouri. Level 2 in plain English means this: a 15% probability of damaging winds, a 15% probability of hail bigger than a golf ball, and a 2% tornado probability that could still go higher before Wednesday afternoon. Dallas-Fort Worth. Y'all are at 75 degrees Wednesday with severe thunderstorms possible by afternoon, wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour, and golf ball-sized hail are your primary threats today. And if you've lived in DFW long enough, you know that 60 miles per hour gusts aren't just uncomfortable, they're the kind of thing that takes down fences, flips outdoor furniture, and turns a Wednesday afternoon into a real bad day real fast. Fort Smith, Arkansas. You're sitting right in the bullseye of that slight risk zone. Expect storms to fire up your way Wednesday afternoon, and large hail is going to be the headline threat for your area. Little Rock at 68 degrees, you're on the western edge of the risk storms, could push through your area as early as mid-afternoon. So if you've got kids getting out of school or outdoor plans, keep your eyes up. Texarkana. You're right on that Arkansas-Texas border at 70 degrees, and inside that elevated threat area, Wednesday afternoon into evening is your watch window. Now here's something worth knowing about Wednesday that I think gets overlooked. I'm not calling this a tornado outbreak day. Not even close. This is primarily a wind and hail setup. The first car in a long train of storms. Oklahoma City, You're at 72 degrees Wednesday with a severe risk in play. Damaging gusts and large hail are your main concerns, with a low-end tornado threat that you shouldn't completely ignore. Tulsa at 70 degrees, you're right inside that slight risk zone. Wednesday afternoon could get dicey, so if you're someone who commutes across town in the evenings, give yourself some extra time to check the radar. By Wednesday evening, that severe weather band stretches all the way from southern Illinois down to the Dallas Metroplex, a 700-mile corridor of organized storms. And that is not a small event by any measure. Cincinnati and Louisville. You guys are both in the slight risk zone Wednesday at 55 and 65 degrees respectively. Damaging winds and large hail are legitimate possibilities. And having your weather app set up with alerts is just smart right now. Indianapolis at 50 degrees, you're in that slight risk corridor too. Wednesday afternoon could produce some strong to severe storms pushing through central Indiana. And folks in the suburbs need to stay weather aware. All right, Wednesday is serious. You now know what your area is dealing with, but I want you to stay with me. Because what the models just showed me about Thursday is the reason I said this whole thing is keeping me up at night. Here's the thing about Thursday, Wednesday storms are scattered. Manageable. Organized but not extreme Thursday is different in character, and the difference comes down to one word: supercells. The jet stream digs even deeper over the Rockies by Thursday, and that extra dip creates the kind of wind shear, the twisting, turning energy in the atmosphere that allows individual storms to rotate. And rotating storms, folks, are the storms that produce the biggest hail, the strongest winds. And the tornadoes in Thursday's setup is building exactly that kind of environment across the high plains. The SPC has Thursday under a slight risk, but the detail that matters most is the hatched area. That black outlined region means a 10% chance of significant severe weather, 2-inch hail or bigger. EF 2+ tornadoes or hurricane force winds. Amarillo. Texas Thursday is your alert day, and I mean that seriously. We could see baseball-sized hail or larger with supercells that fire across the panhandle Thursday afternoon. And that is not a number I throw around lightly. Lubbock, Abilene, Wichita Falls. You're all in the crosshairs. Thursday, a classic dry line setup is going to allow some really nasty supercells to fire up, and the environment is ripe for a couple of strong tornadoes in that late afternoon window. Now here is the honest caveat I always give on days like this. The wind shear Thursday might actually be close to too much. And there's a chance it tears storms apart before they can really get organized and produce a long-track tornado. But that fine line right there, that is it enough or is it too much balance, that's exactly the kind of setup that keeps every meteorologist glued to the models every hour, because it can tip either way quickly. Western Oklahoma and southwestern Kansas woodward. Liberal. Greensburg, you're also in that elevated threat zone Thursday, and with that much shear in place, even one well-organized supercell could produce a significant tornado. Thursday could genuinely be the first day in 2026 where we see a legitimate, organized tornado threat, and I don't say that to scare you. I say it so you're not caught off guard when the warnings start going out. The window for Thursday's worst storms is roughly 3 to 4 hours that Thursday afternoon to early evening window after that. Things get messy and storms lose their structure pretty quickly. Wichita at 53 degrees Thursday. You're in that transition zone between the severe threat to the south and the rain to the north. Check your forecast every few hours Thursday, because which side of that line you fall on makes a huge difference. Kansas City at 55 degrees, you're on the northern edge of the marginal risk Thursday. You could see some wind-driven storms push through by evening. And the flooding threat from all this rain stacking up is also something KC residents need to have on their radar. Now, you've been patient, and I appreciate it, because everything I've described so far, Wednesday and Thursday combined, is just the build-up to what Friday looks like. And Friday is genuinely on another level. Let me ask you something real quick before we get into Friday. Are you someone who's been through a major severe weather outbreak before? Or is this your first time tracking a setup this big? Tell me in the comments, because it changes what advice matters most for you. Okay, here we go. Friday, March 6th. The Storm Prediction Center has already issued a Level 3 enhanced risk for Day 4, and that orange color on the SPC map is not something you see every week, not even every month. Level 3 is where meteorologists stop saying watch for storms and start saying this could be a significant severe weather outbreak. And the fact that we're already at Level 3 4 days out tells you something serious is coming. Here's what's driving it. A powerful low-pressure system organizes over Nebraska and Kansas Friday afternoon. Cranking down to 991 millibars, that's a strong, well-defined storm engine sitting right in the heart of the country. The low-level jet, the river of wind about a mile above our heads, is expected to ramp up to 50, maybe 60 knots on Friday. And that is literally highway speed in the atmosphere. And it is the single biggest driver of Friday's tornado potential. Dew points are forecast to climb into the 60s as far north as Des Moines and Cedar Rapids, Iowa by Friday evening, and folks, that is not supposed to happen in early March. That is April or May air showing up 2 months early. That fuel-rich air streaming north, colliding with the wind shear in the upper atmosphere, meeting a well-organized surface low that's not just a severe weather setup. That's the full recipe for a potentially significant outbreak. The enhanced risk zone on Friday covers Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Joplin, Kansas City, St. Joseph, and then the slight risk umbrella stretches all the way from Rochester, Minnesota down to Austin, Texas, that is an enormous footprint, Chicago, and Milwaukee. You're in the slight risk Friday Indianapolis. You're in it Iowa and Illinois. You're in it? This is not just a Southern Plains story. This is a Midwest story too. And a lot of folks up north don't realize they're in the crosshairs. Oklahoma City at 72 degrees Friday, you are in the level 3 zone. All hazards are on the table, damaging winds, large hail, and multiple tornadoes possible. Have your storm plan ready before Friday morning, not Friday afternoon. Tulsa, at 70 degrees, you're in that enhanced risk, and I cannot stress this enough. The difference between a bad Friday and a dangerous Friday for Tulsa is going to come down to exactly where that surface low tracks, and we will have that answer by Thursday morning. St. Louis at 58 degrees Friday. You're right in the bullseye zone. Severe storms could fire from the afternoon and push deep into the evening. And if Friday's event goes nocturnal like the models are hinting, that is a whole different level of danger. And that word nocturnal is what I actually want to sit on for a second, because this is the part of Friday's forecast that concerns me more than any wind speed or hail size. A nocturnal tornado event means tornadoes hitting after dark, and the research on this is sobering. Nighttime tornadoes are significantly more deadly because people are asleep, warnings are missed, and visibility is zero. If you're in the level 2 or level 3 zone for Friday, do yourself a favor right now, go into your phone settings, find your emergency weather alerts, and make absolutely sure that notification volume is turned all the way up so it'll wake you up at 2 in the morning if it needs to. Nashville at 70 degrees Friday, you're warm. You're loaded with Gulf moisture, and you're in the slight risk zone. Damaging winds and heavy rain are your main threats across the Tennessee Valley. And flash flooding is absolutely on the table too. Kansas City. Sitting on the northern edge of that enhanced risk at 55 degrees, you could see anything from large hail to a tornado Friday evening. And being on the edge of a level 3 zone does not mean you're in the clear. Springfield. Missouri at 60 degrees, you're right where the cold front plows into that warm, moist air mass Friday that is as close to ground zero as it gets for severe weather initiation. And I'd treat Friday like a serious weather day for your area. Now layered on top of all of this, and this is the part that turns a bad week into a really rough week. For a lot of communities, the flooding threat from here through the end of the week is substantial. Eastern Oklahoma, western and central Arkansas, northeast Texas, northern Louisiana, western Tennessee, and southern Missouri, we're talking 2 to 5 inches of rain over multiple days. And that's on top of what's already saturated from recent rainfall. Houston, you're at 78 degrees, and picking up rain through the weak flooding in low-lying areas is a genuine concern. And anyone near Brays Bayou or White Oak Bayou knows exactly what that means. Here's a real talk moment. Flooding quietly kills more Americans every single year than tornadoes do. And turn around, don't drown exists because people underestimate moving water every single time 12 inches can sweep your car off the road. All right, 3 things before we move on. Number 1, know your shelter. The lowest interior room away from windows. Number 2, have 2 ways to get warnings. Phone alerts plus a weather radio. Number 3, if a tornado warning drops for your county, you move immediately, not when you hear the wind. That's your whole safety prep in 3 sentences because honestly, those 3 things done right will get most people through this week safely, and everything else is extra credit. Now let's run through the rest of the country real quick, because I know a lot of y'all are watching from areas that aren't in the severe weather zone, and you want to know what your Wednesday looks like. Washington, D.C. at 55 degrees, mostly cloudy and mild. Well above average for early March, you're staying dry as this system tracks well to your west. Enjoy the calm before the pollen season absolutely explodes this weekend. Philadelphia at 52 degrees with light rain showers, nothing severe. Just a gray kind of Wednesday for the I-95 corridor. Richmond at 60 and Norfolk at 62 are actually the warmest and calmest spots on the East Coast today. Charlotte at 65 and Raleigh at 63, you're both under high pressure keeping you dry and mild today. Enjoy it. Y'all. Because the second half of March has some signals worth watching that we'll get to in just a minute. Atlanta at 68, warm and sunny, Miami at 82. Orlando at 80, Tampa at 79, Florida, and the Southeast. You are genuinely gorgeous today and playing zero role in this severe weather situation developing to your northwest. But here's the thing about that southeast warmth, all that heat and humidity streaming north from Georgia, Alabama, and the Gulf Coast is literally the fuel being fed into the severe weather machine. So in a weird way, y'all are part of this story too. Memphis at 68, Jackson, Mississippi at 72, Birmingham at 70, the entire deep south running 10 to 15 degrees above average for early March. This is remarkable. And it has real consequences for the storm setup to your northwest. New Orleans at 74 with showers possible. Houston at 78 picking up rain. San Antonio at 80 and mostly sunny. And Austin at 78 sitting on the southern edge of the severe risk zone. So don't completely write off Wednesday storms for the greater Austin area. Chicago at 46 degrees with light rain and wind. Wednesday, you're feeling the leading edge of all this today. And I want Chicago residents to understand that while Wednesday is just a rainy day, Friday is a different conversation entirely for the metro. Detroit at 45 degrees, cloudy. Columbus at 52 with mild rain Midwest. You're the in-between zone this week, not the severe weather bullseye, but close enough that you need to be watching the Friday forecast updates every single day between now and then. Out west, Denver at 55 and sunny. Phoenix at 75, dry. Las Vegas at 72 and gorgeous. Los Angeles at 68. San Francisco at 61. The entire western half of the country is detached from all of this drama playing out in the central U.S. this week. Seattle at 50 with half an inch of rain. Portland at 52, also rainy. The Pacific Northwest is doing its own thing. And Salt Lake City at 50 and Boise at 48 are both sunny and calm. Enjoy it out there. Friends? Minneapolis at 40 degrees cold but not stormy. Fargo at 35 with a snow chance. Sioux Falls at 42, you're holding on to winter while everything south of you is being dragged hard into early spring. And that temperature contrast is what's making this week so volatile. Now, I told you at the start there was a number the Storm Prediction Center isn't talking about loudly enough yet. And here it is, Tuesday, March 10th. While everyone's focused on this week's storms, which is absolutely right, and you should be, the models have been consistently signaling that next Tuesday could actually be a bigger severe weather event than anything we see this week. The European model is already showing a 987 millibar low ejecting off the Rockies on Tuesday. That is a strong, well-organized storm system, and the severe weather ingredients lining up behind it look, frankly, impressive. I've been watching the March 10th to 12th window for a while now. And the consistency in the long-range data is the kind of signal that makes you sit up straight. This isn't model noise. This looks like a real and potentially large event. I'm not ready to call it an outbreak yet. We're still 7 days out and the details will absolutely shift, but if you've got major outdoor plans or travel scheduled for Tuesday, March 10th, keep an eye on this because it could be significant. Wednesday and Thursday of next week could also be progressively impactful as that same system tracks into the Ohio Valley, Dixie Alley, and then presses toward the East Coast. This active pattern is not wrapping up quickly. But here's the plot twist that almost nobody is talking about after this warm, active stretch that's about to make the entire country feel like April. The second half of March could look completely and dramatically different. Models are showing what I'd call a serious cold air intrusion, a deep trough diving down from the northwest around March 10th to 12th that has the potential to completely flip the pattern and wipe out all this warmth within just a few days. We're talking temperatures potentially crashing from the mid-80s back down to well below average within a matter of days. That kind of whiplash is the definition of fall spring, and it catches a lot of people off guard every single year. The Euro ensemble is already showing a signal for snow across the northern Rockies, the Dakotas, and there's even a faint signal reaching down into Kansas, Missouri, and a hint of it brushing Tennessee by mid-March. The Climate Prediction Center is already flagging below-average temperatures returning across the central U.S. between March 10th and the 16th, so yes, enjoy the warmth this weekend, because it may not stick around as long as it feels like it will. And speaking of this weekend's warmth, temperatures across the south could hit the mid to upper 80s Saturday and Sunday, and if you've got allergies, I genuinely feel for you, because the pollen counts are about to go absolutely through the roof. So, the big picture question I'll throw out to you, which scenario are you honestly rooting for? Does this severe weather event verify big and history-making? Or do you want it to stay on the weaker end and let people off the hook? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear it. Now let me level with you about the model uncertainty, because there are some genuine differences between what the European model and the American GFS are showing right now, especially for Friday. The European model is more aggressive. It's pulling higher dew points further north by Friday evening, which means a larger tornado footprint if it's right, and the Euro has been the more consistent of the two models throughout this entire setup. The GFS is a little more conservative on Friday's timing, and it keeps the main activity slightly further south either way. Both scenarios are serious, but the difference matters a lot if you live in southern Iowa versus northern Oklahoma. This level of disagreement 4 to 5 days out is actually normal for a high-energy spring setup. The atmosphere is genuinely complex right now, which is why we update forecasts every single day and why you should be checking back in. What both models agree on completely is this: the overall signal for a significant multi-day all-hazard severe weather event is not going away. The question is just about precise placement, and that answer sharpens by the hour. There will almost certainly be live storm coverage Friday as this event unfolds, and real-time storm chasers are already repositioning. Emergency management is staging resources across the region. This is not a drill. All right, let's land the plane with a clean day-by-day summary, because this has been a lot of ground to cover, and I want you to walk away knowing exactly what each day means for you. Wednesday, March 4th day, one of the active stretch level 2, slight risk from DFW through Fort Smith. Arkansas primary threats are damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour and golf ball-sized hail, with a low-end tornado threat that's not zero. Thursday, March 5th. The first real tornado day of 2026 sets up across West Texas. The Panhandles and western Oklahoma hatched risk in place for significant severe weather. The 3 to 4 hour afternoon window is when you need to be watching most carefully. Friday, March 6th. This is the day Level 3 enhanced risk already locked in all hazards possible from Iowa and Illinois down through Oklahoma and Texas. The event may go nocturnal, so your phone alert settings matter tonight, not just Friday morning. Saturday, March 7th. Severe weather continues but pulls back in coverage, primarily the Southern Plains and Mississippi Valley, still a risk day. But the atmosphere starts to stabilize behind the cold front. Sunday and Monday are your break days, and I want to be clear. If you have outdoor plans or travel that can flex, Sunday is your window. Most of the country looks genuinely nice, so take it. Tuesday, March 10th and beyond. The next round is building. Potentially bigger than this week, we will be covering it daily as the models tighten. And the March 10th to 12th window needs to be on your calendar right now. Look, I've been doing this long enough to know that the details of Friday will shift between now and then. And some of what I showed you today will look different by Thursday morning. That's just how the atmosphere works. But the big signal 5 active days, a level 3 Friday, a potential major setup next Tuesday, none of that is going away. And the people who prepared early are always the ones who come through these events the best. One more time, drop your city in the comments right now. And tell me, do you want me to cover your area in a dedicated segment in tomorrow's video? Because I'm going deep on the Thursday and Friday timing tomorrow, and I want to make sure your town is in the conversation. The most requested location in the comments today gets its own segment in tomorrow's video, so get that comment in. because tomorrow's update is going to be significantly more detailed on exact storm timing and tornado threat corridors. If this breakdown helped you understand what's heading your way, go ahead and hit that like button, because it genuinely helps push this forecast out to people in the impact zones who need it before these storms arrive. Hit that notification bell right now so you don't miss a single update this week, and I mean it when I say every update between now and Friday matters, because the details are going to sharpen fast. Stay weather aware. Look out for your neighbors, especially the older folks on your street who might not be checking the radar, and we will see you right back here tomorrow with the most detailed Thursday and Friday breakdown yet. Because here's my honest bottom line this week is the opening statement of the 2026 severe weather season. And if March is kicking off like this, the rest of spring is going to be one to watch very, very closely.